US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin will host the Ukraine Defense Contact Group in Germany in the coming hours. It's made up of about 50 countries that focus on Kyiv's military needs to try and fend off Russian attacks. The meeting comes as the US announced it's currently producing more than 40,000 artillery munitions a month for Ukraine as part of a push to increase production. Meantime, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has appointed a new foreign minister amid a major shake-up of his cabinet. Several other ministers also resigned this week before Zelensky's upcoming trip to the United States. He says his government needed new energy. CNN has obtained exclusive drone video that appears to show Ukrainian soldiers executed after they surrendered. It's one of several incidents being investigated by the United Nations. CNN's Nick Paton-Walsh has details and a warning. Some of the video in his report is disturbing.
A scene all too common on Ukraine's imperiled eastern front. Smoke billowing, a position overrun. Ukrainian troops staggering out, appearing to surrender to advancing Russians. A brief close-up on Ukrainian drone video, seen here for the first time, shows them on their knees. The drone operators ask each other for a better view, and then, seconds later, it is too late. The three fall to the ground. Dust nearby suggesting gunfire. Executed in cold blood, a Ukrainian official familiar with the incident said, despite hoping to be taken prisoner by the Russians. It is from near the besieged city of Pokrovsk in late August, the source said, the hottest spot on the front now, where Russia is persistently advancing and follows a horrific pattern. Prosecutors say they're investigating a total of 28 cases in which 62 Ukrainian soldiers were killed after surrender on the battlefield.
If prisoners of war surrender, if they show that they surrender, if they are without weapons in their hands, then summary execution is the war crime.
It has worsened in the past 10 months, CNN obtaining from Ukrainian intelligence officials a detailed list of 15 incidents, most backed up by drone video or audio intercepts. Now, United Nations investigators have scrutinised many of these killings, and a UN investigative source said to me, quote, there are many, there is a pattern, and the killings are war crimes individually, they said in their opinion, and together could amount to crimes against humanity. And near Robotyne, the site of some of the fiercest fighting this year in Zaporizhia, another Ukrainian drone filmed in May these images that are upsetting to watch. Ukrainian soldiers emerge one by one from the dugout. Ukraine's defense intelligence said they intercepted the Russian commander's order to execute or zero them and gave us this transcript. Take them down, zero them, take them, zero them, the officer says. Got it. Plus, comes the reply. Once you zero them, report back, he adds. Once they're all out, face down, the Russians fire. Ukrainians we spoke to left asking why. To just terrify them, or is it simply sport for the Russians?
The main reason is to make Russian soldiers believe it's very dangerous to surrender to Ukrainian forces because Ukrainian soldiers will kill them like Russians killing Ukrainian prisoners of war. This forces them not to surrender, but go forward to their death.
A horror not always publicised or fully accounted for, yet being felt steadily by Ukrainians as they struggle to hold the eastern line. Nick Paton-Walsh, CNN, London.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has just finished addressing a meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group at Ramstein Air Base. It's made up of about 50 countries that focus on Kyiv's military needs to fend off Russian attacks. The group was founded after Russia's invasion by US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who is also there for the meeting. Claire's been monitoring what's coming out of it.
Yeah, so this is the first time, actually, that President Zelensky has in person attended a meeting of the Ramstein Contact Group at the US Air Base. He attended one in Brussels last year. But I think that underscores, even though this is the 24th meeting of this contact group that was set up to coordinate military aid, just how important he feels this moment is. He's really trying to leverage the momentum of this now month-old Kursk offensive, the morale boost that it's given to troops, the sign that it sends to the West that they are getting a real dividend from the weapons that they have provided so far, and really push for more. Here's what he said about that offensive and its impact so far.
Dear friends, today marks 1 month since our army's operation began in the Kursk region of Russia. This is the borderland from which Putin was preparing to expand the war into Ukrainian territory. He was preparing to launch a new offensive against our city of Sumy, and we have turned the tables and are pushing the war into Russia through our counter-offensive. Today, we control an area of more than 1,300 square kilometers in the Kursk region, and this includes 100 settlements. A significant part of this territory was abandoned by Russian troops. They simply fled when they saw our forces approaching. Of course, a significant part of the territory was taken under control by our forces in the battles. So far, during the first month of our operation in the Kursk region, the Russian forces have lost about 6,000 soldiers killed and wounded in Kursk only, and other tens of thousands of Russian troops in other war zones. Thanks to our actions, there is currently no threat that Russia will launch a new offensive operation on our territory against the city of Sumy.
So what he said at the end there is significant because this backs up what we heard from an interview that Christian Amanpour did with the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Alexander Syrsky, who said that the reason they chose Kursk in the first place was because they believed that Russia was planning to launch a new attack on the city of Sumy, which is just across the border from Kursk. This would be a sort of mirror action to what we saw in May when Russia opened a new front towards the city of Kharkiv and successfully pushed across the border there, although Ukraine has sort of stabilized that front now. So that is how they are justifying this. He then goes on to make an argument, Max, that he has made before, which is that essentially what Ukraine has done in launching this operation over into Kursk has essentially made a mockery of Western fears of Russian red lines. They have invaded Russia, and we see, obviously, stepped up Russian aerial attacks and the offensive on the Eastern Front ongoing, but nothing really out of the ordinary course of this war. So he's saying this really does undermine the whole issue of Russian red lines. He said we need to hold to our values, not what he called in this speech, red lines soaked in blood.
And the US has just announced more money for Ukraine, which suggests it's not completely against this strategy, which would have been unthinkable a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, the issue now for the sort of the military supplies from the US to Ukraine is that it's not just about how much, right? They've already provided some 55 billion or so in military aid. They are by far the biggest provider. It's about the limitations on using them on Russian territory. So we don't know exactly what's in the detail of this new aid package, but what Ukraine is now really pushing for is to be able to use long-range weapons, long-range missiles on targets inside Russia. And so far, the US is still holding back on that. Having said that, though, Secretary Austin did talk about the Kursk offensive. They are, it seems, Ukraine's allies broadly supportive of this, just not at this point the use of those long-range weapons.
OK, Claire, thank you.